Political campaigns are so much more than just the candidates we see on TV or the attack ads that pop up online. They are these incredibly intricate machines. So today, we're going to pop the hood, take a look inside, and really understand the gears and systems that turn a big idea into actual political action. We've all seen it, right? The candidate's face smiling at us from a lawn sign or debating on stage. But behind that one person, there's this huge, complex organization of strategists, fundraisers, and organizers. So who really runs the show? That's the big question we're digging into today as we get under the hood of this political engine. Okay, so every machine needs a control system, a brain, right? And in a provincial party, that's the executive team. These are the folks setting the overall direction, figuring out where the money goes, and making all the big strategic calls. This is the absolute core of the engine. At the very top of the pyramid, you have the party's leader. Let's just call them the CEO, the chief operator. And they're doing way more than just chairing meetings. They're the main spokesperson, the #1 recruiter for new candidates, and the key link to the national party. But maybe most importantly, they are the final word on compliance, making sure this whole big operation is actually following all the rules. Next up, we've got the CFO. And let me tell you, this role carries a ton of responsibility. They're not just an accountant, they're the ultimate financial steward and compliance guard. They have to make sure every single dollar that comes in and goes out follows the super strict laws set by Elections Canada. One tiny mistake here can have massive, massive consequences for the entire party. This means they're often the ones who have to say no and hit the brakes when a campaign just wants to spend, spend, spend. And the person holding all of this together is the secretary. Don't let the title fool you. This role is the organizational backbone of the entire party. They're managing the flow of information, from taking minutes in crucial meetings to maintaining that all-important membership database. Honestly, without a great secretary, the whole machine would just grind to a halt in a mess of administrative chaos. Okay, so we've seen the engine's core leadership, but how does their big picture strategy actually get put into action on the ground, in your neighborhood? Well, let's move on to the next part of our machine, the transmission system that connects that central office to all the local teams. And that connection is made by these folks, the regional directors. In this specific setup, you can see there are 5 of them. And that number is really key because it tells you they aren't just managing 1 or 2 local spots. They're overseeing huge geographic areas, with each one containing a whole bunch of different ridings. So you can think of these 5 directors as the strategic go-betweens. They're the ones guiding and supporting the local teams, making sure everybody's singing from the same song sheet. They report progress back up the chain to provincial leadership, but just as important, they help neighboring ridings work together. They're really the essential middle managers of this whole political machine. Now let's zoom in even closer. We've gone from the provincial level to the regional, and now we finally arrive at the most local level there is, the riding association. This is it. This is where all that big picture strategy finally meets the voters face to face. This is where the rubber meets the road. And this comparison really shows you the different worlds these teams live in. While the provincial team is thinking about broad strategy and policy, the riding team is totally focused on community engagement and local events. It's that classic split between high-level planning and boots-on-the-ground action. And honestly, keeping these two in sync is one of the biggest challenges any party faces. So who's leading that local charge? That would be the riding director. This is the person whose job it is to know their community inside and out. They're the ones organizing the town halls, building relationships with local leaders, and managing all the tangible stuff you see, like flyers and lawn signs, all within that one specific riding. And of course, you've got the candidate, the public face of the campaign. Well, they aren't just thrown out there on their own. That's where the candidate coordinator comes in. See, a candidate doesn't just show up and start running. This coordinator makes sure they're properly vetted, trained, and armed with everything they need, from policy briefings to professional headshots. They are the candidate's direct line into the party machine. Okay, so we've got the leadership, we've got the local structure, but none of that works without people, right? So let's look at the roles that are all about managing the lifeblood of any political movement, the members and volunteers who are literally the fuel for this entire machine. The volunteer coordinator is basically running a continuous 4-step process. It all starts with recruiting people and figuring out what they're good at. Then comes the organizing, assigning them to specific tasks, like knocking on doors. After that, they're trained. And then, and this is so critical, they're appreciated. Acknowledging that effort is the absolute key to keeping that volunteer energy going for the long haul. And in a very similar way, you have the membership coordinator, who manages the party's official card-carrying base. Their work is also a cycle. They engage new members, they maintain the database, communicate with everyone through newsletters, and they're always looking for ways to grow that membership list. This is what gives the party a stable, committed foundation of support. So let's put it all together. We've looked at the core leadership, the regional connectors, the local teams on the ground, and the people who provide the fuel. Now we can step back and see how this complete political engine is designed to work as one single unit. The biggest takeaway here is this. A political party is a deeply interconnected system. The CEO's grand provincial strategy is completely useless without the writing director setting up a local handshake. And that handshake can't happen without the CFO making sure the event is funded legally, or the volunteer coordinator finding someone to help out. Every single gear has to turn in perfect sync. And all of this leaves us with one final question for you to think about. After seeing all these different parts, from the high-level strategists all the way down to the grassroots volunteers, which part of this whole complex engine do you think is the most critical for a political party's success? The answer? Well, it might not be as simple as you think.